that started.
Yeah, that's good.
Posture. Oh.
Posture.
Posture's so important, man. How's your leg doing, by the way?
It's feeling much better. Yeah.
From this weekend when you had a massive cramp. The biggest cramp of your life, I think.
Yeah, for sure the biggest cramp in my life. I tried working out on Monday, but I was like, I'm not having it, bro. And then I've taken a couple days off and it's feeling much better.
Yeah. In case this happens to make it into the vlog,
Just in case.
Jay and I went on a hike this past weekend. It was a pretty intensive hike. I would say about 3 miles of a steep incline up, very rocky path. And this guy decides to take no water with him because he believes in the mind over matter. And
I thought nature would provide.
And the rest of us thought it's very foolish. And he thought he was doing pretty well for the first leg of it. And then afterwards,
I feel like I did pretty well.
the entire way.
The whole time.
The whole way. So he was actually really good. He was not tired at all. I was done. I was having a very difficult time because I have the wimpiest of asthmas, which is exercise induced. And that's a great excuse not to exercise, by the way. I have exercise induced asthma.
Whatever you gotta tell yourself.
Whatever. Shut up. Anyway, when we get back, he starts just clenching up and his face turns pale and he's
Pale, I didn't
in a way, and just your eyes are about to jump out of your eye sockets.
Yeah.
And I could tell that you were suffering these sharp, life-threatening pain.
I was definitely in the moment.
You were in the moment.
I was
You were very
experiencing-
present with your pain.
I was.
Yeah. And you were actually begging me, please amputate my leg. I'm done with it.
I was
it's
half
over.
joking. Damn, it was bad. You fed me a banana. I'm very grateful for you.
Water
Gave
too.
me
Gave you water.
Yes.
I stayed by you. No one else. Everyone else was laughing at you.
Yes.
I was laughing at you, but also took care of you.
But also assisting.
But also took care of you.
Because you live in the end. And you
I
can do
live in
whatever
the
you
end.
want.
Yes, they do not have to be mutually exclusive. I can find it hilarious that you're suffering at the same time take care of you and be with you the entire way.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. So what did you learn? Because I think this is important.
Yeah. Well, I didn't hydrate enough. That's for sure. Especially, I recently found out that I was already
That's the
dehydrated.
thing. Your doctor told you were already dehydrated.
Yeah. Doctors. You know how I feel about doctors.
This was not a small hike. This was at least like
Here's
a
why
5.5 hour hike.
I didn't take her that serious because it was like a young doctor and I can tell she was in debt, she was suffering. So it was like the things that she was saying, I was like, wait a minute, what are you trying to sell me here? You know?
Why even go? Why even go?
Exactly. No, I wanted to analyze the blood test and they do say that I am dehydrated. I should have known better. I didn't think it was going to be as long a day as it was.
To be fair,
and also
our other friend sold it to us that this would be like, oh, it's like a good hike, but like you knew that it was intense by the shoes he was wearing.
Right.
Normally, this friend of
But
ours
we were already
wears
there,
sandals,
and I had already not prepared. I had forgotten a day pack. I just wasn't. I wasn't being as present as I should have been for sure.
No.
You know,
but
leading
the
up to the
pain
week.
brought you to the present.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to teach me for sure the lesson. Leading up to the week, I knew we were going camping, but I had forgotten the details, you know? And so one of my questions when I ran into Sal during the week, I was like, hey man, do you know, like, should I get a new tent or are we going to, so he's like, we got a cabin. So that's how out of it I was. Like I didn't remember about the thing. Like I didn't remember.
You didn't even know what time we were leaving.
I didn't.
And you were picking me up.
I didn't realize. I didn't even realize I was supposed to drive.
So what is the spiritual takeaway?
You know, for the most part, nature did take care of me. For the most part. And was generous enough to teach me the lesson by giving me the most painful cramp of my life. And so I gotta say, it was a great weekend. I learned a lot. I still had a great time. It didn't really ruin much.
I wouldn't say at all.
You know, we were all hanging out. I thought we bonded. We ate pizza. We went on a hike.
Yeah.
We got to nature.
Got recharged, got reconnected
Yeah.
with Mother Nature.
I think it was a win. Win all around. Perspective.
But also, what I'm trying to nudge him toward is, as much as I also believe in mind over matter, but the matter also still matters. I think it's important to honor the body and to the way to overcome the body's limitations is to also acknowledge them.
That's right. So if you take anything out of today, matter matters.
Matter matters. And that's why it's called matter. Fun play on words. Okay, but I remember that was like just a funny aside. But what we wanted to do today was to continue our talk, our kind of ongoing talks about our experiences with entheogens, with different medicines that we have encountered out in the world. And today, we wanted to focus on what we have called the granddaddy of medicines, the grandfather energy. This one is Iboga, Ibogaine, the one that comes from Africa, specifically from the country of Gabon. And it's for a long time you could only go to Africa to take this medicine. It grows on a tree. You have to. Usually it's not even a place where you can go to a retreat and just take it. You should have to embed yourself with the local people and be accepted by the tribes and a shaman to administer it to you. It's an intensive process. It's a multi-day thing.
Is this because it's not as popular or as mainstream as like ayahuasca, or is it just?
I mean, when you look it up online, you can definitely find information on it. But I definitely think it's not as mainstream as Aya, and it's also much more difficult to get to as well. A, the distance, and B, just the. I think there just hasn't been as many inroads created to make the travel process getting to the medicine very easy. So it's very intensive. Malaria is an issue. I was fortunate in that I was able to meet people who were able to bring it stateside. Shouldn't we be talking about this?
Sure. Yeah, shaman. They're light workers.
Sure, but not mentioning any names.
To say allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, that works.
Allegedly. But yeah, just being able to get the medicine is very difficult. People have died getting this medicine, just getting to that area because there's mosquitoes there, malaria runs rampant. I have a lot of respect for anyone who tries to make this particular medicine accessible to everyone. Anyway, that's more like the background of it. Iboga, compared to other medicines, I would say Iboga, what it does is that it very much holds you to the present moment. We were just talking about being present, right? This is all about presence. It's all about what you need right now, what's important to you right now. It's a very straightforward medicine in terms of describing the personality of the plant. We oftentimes talk about plant medicines, each one having its own spirit, each one having its own personality. Short, sweet, and to the point is how I would describe Iboga. Other medicines, like let's say ayahuasca in South America, it's much more considered the mother energy. It's very loving. It's very creative. If you were to ask her a question, trying to understand yourself, she can show you multiple ways and she could answer you in ways that you wouldn't even imagine. She could show you a past life. She could show you a moment in time where you did something. She could show you everything you had done up until this point. She could show you the cosmos. She could show you something deep within yourself. She could show you things through metaphor, through illustration, in so many ways until you get that point. Whereas Iboga would just be like, could answer you in just like a couple words. Or even just give you a, why do you even need an answer to that? Does this serve you?
Very direct.
Very direct. And that pretty much describes my experience with Iboga. Because whenever I ask a question, because as a general practice, one usually approaches a plant medicine with an intention, a desire to know something, discover something, understand something deeper, or understand oneself deeper. So I had those types of questions, specifically pertaining to myself. And when I would try to do those, like, ask those questions to the plant when I'm in the medicine, it would either just give me help me with very straightforward answers, or it would also help with just clearing out clutter. Like, I could feel my brain letting go of things that didn't matter anymore.
You can see what those things were?
In my mind's eye. But I couldn't really see them because they're kind of just being pulled away. If there was a thought that I was having that didn't really serve any purpose or didn't really help me knowing, it would just go away. I would be talking mid-sentence and just forget what I was saying. That's how it would work. Like, it just pared you down to the essentials. Devastatingly clear. Very much of the present. Not asking questions of the future or complicating the things of the past, making it more than what it was, if it has no bearing on what is needed right now. It also, in a very physical way, holds you in the moment by slowing you down. Because this medicine works directly on your brain, it very much targets the workings of the brain. When you take the medicine, it keeps you up. You cannot sleep. It's a stimulant. So it keeps you up the entire night. You cannot sleep for the life of you. Secondly, it works on the part of your brain that controls balance and motion. So if you were to move around very quickly, I will assure you, if you're very sensitive to medicines already, that you feel like your brain is just being hit with a tennis racket back and forth. It feels very jarring. And so it's better to not fight it and to just move with great intention, because every motion counts at that point. Like, you don't want to waste a movement, A, for fear of getting hurt, and B, it's just not worth the amount of effort that would take. And some people report nausea and stomach cramps. I had some nausea, couldn't really keep down food. So again, every decision I made mattered. It wasn't how we normally live life, where just kind of do something, half commit, whatever. No, I had to be very present with every single decision that I made, big or small. Even just turning my head, I had to be like, is this worth it? Do I really need to do this? And in a way that's beautiful, right? We don't give enough weight or importance to our decisions. Oftentimes they're just kind of on autopilot. So we don't think about it. We're not weighing the pros and cons, or in a way valuing that time and energy that each and every single action takes. So for me, that was important. Because I tend to get caught up in details a lot. I tend to stress out about anything and everything, because I'm trying to make sure everything's good, everything's right, everyone's having a good time, things are not falling through the cracks, and that can be very stressful, right? There's a goodness in that because I'm conscientious and detail-oriented. There's a bad in that, but because I'm just weighing myself down with all these little things. What Iboga taught me in the 4 days that I was in the medicine, or in the ceremony for the medicine, was that what's breaking it down to its essential essence. It really taught me to not sweat the small things anymore. To let go of anything that didn't help me, didn't serve me, didn't really matter. Like, why does that matter? A lot of the things we make into important things is really, and I'm not trying to say things are important, but what it did teach me was it's important if you make it important. Is that really what you want? Is that really important to you? Do you really need to do this right now? And you make that decision. And that was true for that period of time and also well after. Because Iboga stays in your system well after you take it. You are advised actually not to take any other kind of medicines, plant medicines, and entheogens for at least 3 months after having taken Iboga. Because
And before as well? Or
I believe ideally before, but certainly after. And why after is because it's still working on your system. It's still in there. It's still rewiring things. I felt that was very true for me. The way I wondered how I functioned before, prior to that. The way I saw things was different. The way I processed things was different. I realized I was less irritated by things that would happen. I was more forgiving, less judgmental of things. I kind of like certain programs that I had growing up, or certain things that I was taught. I was able to step back and just be like, why did I even think this was an issue? Or why would I have any kind of aversion to this? You start being able to see what's a program in your mind, and then I could decide whether I wanted to change that or stick with it. Sometimes a program could be good, but it allowed me to see it for what it was, as opposed to having these snap judgments about things or snap opinions about things. Is that really my opinion, or is that something that I had been conditioned to believe? And also just got me back to worrying less about what other people think. I'm trying to ground it in more relatable items, in terms of how it directly affected me. I stopped caring too much about other people's opinions. I wanted to focus more on just what made me happy. I wanted to focus more on wellness. I wanted to focus more on taking care of my body. I oftentimes felt busy because I was trying to I was putting too much on my plate, trying to get too much done. I learned to put myself in a place of priority. I hadn't done that in a long time because I was realizing that was being ignored. What's the point of achieving all these things if I won't be alive to appreciate them? I wasn't taking care of very fundamental things, because that's what Iboga does. It reminds you, ultimately, in the beginning and the end, what do you start with and what are you left with? What really matters? So very beautiful in that way. I highly recommend anyone who can do it to do it. It's not easy to come by, but it's a great contrast if you believe in the duality of the world. There's a reason why you have a mother and a father. Mother energy is very beautiful because it shows you the potential and vastness of the universe. And the father energy is very good at cutting to the heart of something and getting down to essentials, simplifying the complicated universe. And to have a perspective of the world and yourself from both viewpoints, I think is important. I think that's essential. They're both beautiful in their own way. Anyways, that give you an idea of how it was.
It sounds like very traumatizing in a good way, where it just sounds like it's still with you pretty. Because how long ago did you do it?
About 2 years ago.
About 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's sticking with you, it seems.
I believe so.
Yeah. And what is it that led you to it in the first place? Why did you want to do it? Why did you do it?
It's very strange. When I was first learning about different plant medicines in the world, it was actually one of the first I had come across. after hearing about, I think Aya was the first one I heard about from family. But after that, when I started doing my own research, the next one I saw was Iboga. It was in a book that I was reading. And I just had this very intuitive sense that I'm going to be doing this.
Before knowing too much about it?
Before knowing too much, I just saw the word and I'm like, I know I'm going to do this. And so when the opportunity came that I could do it, which is again very hard to come by, I was like, I'm going to do this. No questions asked. And it was not an easy or cheap endeavor. I understand that. But I was like, it's now or never. When will I have the opportunity? So I took it immediately.
Yeah. And before you took it, did you see why other people were taking it? Why?
Like, did I talk to anyone else about it?
Sure. What research did you do as far as like benefits, as far as like being something? Because you saw the word and you felt called to do it.
And then I researched more about it. Just to understand more about it. I knew I was going to do it, and then of course I looked more into it and read about other people's experiences with it. But also the people who administered it to me were also very well educated. They were very informative. They were very helpful. They were very good about preparing us for the whole experience. I lucked out in that regard, and they're wonderful people. I'm very grateful to them.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I would do it again too, honestly. It was hard. I will say physically it was very difficult for me. And if you can do the full 2 doses, you're supposed to take it in under the program that I was in. You're supposed to take it the first night and then the second night. I pretty much was done by the first night. I felt it very well into the next day. Didn't sleep for almost 2 days. And it was still very much in my system, and so I decided to forego the next day. If you can do both, please do. I think it's worth the time and the money that you spend on that. So part of me would like to do that again sometime down the line if I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but it's very physical. Like for me, like I described, like the feeling of the brain feeling completely off my axis, like my gravitational pull was completely off. Very sensitive to light, to sound. When you look at things, you would see tracers, and what that is that if you were to move your eyes from one point to another, like objects would seem to have like light trailing by it. Like that's how much it affects your brain. You're starting to, it messes with your motion, not messes, but it adjusts your feeling of balance, your vision.
Well, from
your cognitive processing.
Wow. From my research, the benefits that I've heard about are in people with very strong addictions to drugs or habits or whatever it is. And the way you describe it, as far as like the way it kind of just removed everything that was not serving you.
You could feel, I could feel it being plucked from my brain.
It seems like that's exactly what somebody with an addiction needs, because they have so many things, they feel bombarded, so much pressure.
So much baggage.
The only relief they get is that thing that gives them that little bit of ease.
Totally see why it would work for addicts.
Yeah.
Or like substance abuse. But all of us are addicts in some level. We're addicts.
Exactly.
We are addicted to our ideas.
Exactly.
We're addicted to habits.
Our
We're addicted
beliefs.
to our beliefs.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of us suffer, because we feel like nothing's going to change. But here's the thing, you can change.
Yeah.
And why we feel stuck is because we're not willing to change something inside of us. The world is what it is. The only thing we really truly have control over is ourselves. And so it breaks those mental attachments we have to even who we think we are, but also to what we think, how the world should be, how we do things, our attachment to what we think is absolutely right, or the things that we think are absolutely unchangeable. Everything can be changed in terms of our decision making and how we think about it.
We just have to want to change.
Just have to want to.
Yeah.
I agree. Replacing them with healthier addictions, let's say.
Sure.
Because addictions in and of themselves, you just have to consider what is your addiction.
Yeah.
Is it good for you? Is it bad for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it taught me to be not even too attached to words themselves. It's really about what's underneath the word. What is the true meaning of it, and what's the true impact of it on my life? It totally changed the way I thought, even how I thought, even the language, down to that level.
Well, it's very beautiful the way you describe it. It's very heartwarming for me because, I mean, I haven't done it myself, the Iboga, but, you know, I've done it enough journeys to realize the reasons why people want to change, the things that really get them going. And for me, I just want to change because I'm tired of being a victim to my own beliefs, my own thoughts. And it's more empowering, but it's not easy to do. Sometimes you need something like this, especially if we have traumatic pasts of our childhood, something to kind of snap you out of it and to show you, like, look, it's not this over there, it's not that back then, it's just this right now.
Right.
And this is what's standing in your way. It's yourself, it's your beliefs, it's your attachment to your beliefs. And then something like this where it just sheds it away for you. You don't have to, you know, and it sticks with you, it seems. You know, it's like, because it's so hard, the idea of changing, it's a daily practice. It's like Kung Fu. I want to learn Kung Fu, but I don't want to practice. Well, then you're not going to know Kung Fu. And so I want to change my ways. I want to change my bad addictions into good addictions. So it starts with practice.
Yeah, being addicted to learning.
Yeah.
Being addicted to curiosity.
Exactly.
Being addicted to openness.
Yeah. But I don't want to do all of that. I don't know. Maybe this medicine could help. If you feel like if you're lacking momentum, if you're lacking the start, maybe this comes across you. Like you said, it's not easy, it's not cheap. Maybe you're called to it, and maybe you find a way to get to it. Obviously, there's lots of other plant medicines to kind of snap you into gear or snap you out of your gears. But this is one of them that I wanted to talk about. It's coming to my hemisphere once again with our friend who's gotten an opportunity to do it soon, and with our beautiful podcast where we enlighten ourselves at the very least.
At the very least.
with our stories. We have great stories to share, and very enlightening and beneficial stories for our soul, and we feel that possibly for others as well. And thank you for sharing your beautiful story with us today.
I was happy to share. If my story could tip someone over to doing something for themselves, I'm more than happy to share that.